Good morning, leaders and teachers and Facebook family. Apologize for how some of this video is in terms of the visual. I'm actually on my phone and having tech challenges with the computer. But I woke up this morning with the big question, what will be of service today? What will be of service today in light of what has happened yesterday? And so I really just felt on my heart that, I know that people struggle with having these conversations about events like yesterday with staff and with students. And I just really need to name, please don't be that leader or teacher that doesn't have a short conversation even, that doesn't acknowledge what has happened yesterday. It makes us look foolish when we don't, because it's in the space, it's in the room, it's on everyone's mind. And so this is a moment where we have to dig in to be more courageous, to somehow have the conversation, no matter how difficult. So this is just an offering, just a few short tips, a few pieces of nuggets of guidance to support us all in having these conversations today. I know I'll be leading a few later. And so it's got me thinking. We have to be more intentional with what is happening right now. And so first and foremost, you want to name, this is difficult. This is difficult for me to even, know sometimes how to have this conversation. So you're starting off just simply modeling some vulnerability, discomfort, just being real about what is about to happen in this conversation, that you don't know where it's necessarily going to go. Then you do want to offer a few ground rules. You want to be able to name and anchor that, we want to stay present. We want to use the sacred pause where we take that deep breath and have a more skillful response. So we want to stop before we speak, perhaps, or we want to give some thought. So just name, what are some of these ground rules? A key one is, maybe we won't be partisan. Let's not have this conversation from a partisan perspective. I've been using a particular ground rule for over 15 years now in my workshops, and that's we won't vilify white people. And in fact, we won't vilify people, because we can have this conversation from a place of connection to who we are as people that want to be better with each other. Another ground rule, accept the discomfort. Just lean into it. And one of my all-time favorites that's offered by Glenn Singleton is accept and expect non-closure. This conversation could lead to more questions and more future conversations than it will necessarily in solving something. This conversation is about helping us to process and connect as a community, not necessarily to solve everything. And then you want to invite folks. Are there any other ground rules that you want us to be mindful of in our time together today? So just simply name that. And of course, you want to name confidentiality. That's absolutely key as well. And then I suggest opening with this one key question. How are you feeling? In one word. So I like to call it una palabra. In one word, how are you feeling? And then maybe perhaps even provide a list of feeling words on the screen, provide a list of feeling words in the chat, however you can do it, a link to a document. Give folks time, 1 to 2 minutes to read over the list, to simply journal for a moment, to process some of their feelings, and then allow people to share that one word. If it's a really big group, then maybe they just share it in the chat and you get a few voices. But if it's a smaller group, then you just do it kind of like a restorative circle. Have people say that word. And you want to validate and affirm everyone's feelings no matter what. Could be whether they're positive or negative feelings. The feeling is the feeling, and we don't want to discount that. Have some prompts. What are you going to ask to support the conversation? What kind of prompts might you actually use? So think about that as well. You want to be prepared. What are some of the sentence starters that you can be using and responses that offer making this more skillful? There's a wonderful list that you can Google. They're called silence breakers. They were developed by Anika Naila and Robin DiAngelo, and they help people lean into the uncertainty. So maybe even post a few of these. They help people with curiosity and humility. So you might even open up with saying, I'm really nervous to say this, but another one around uncertainty. I'm afraid I might offend someone, and please let me know if I do, but I want to be sure that I say this. It feels risky to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. So again, offering support for what people can use as tools in these conversations today as you go. You don't need to come off like you're the expert in having this conversation, because they're all difficult and they're all hard, no matter how long you've been doing it, because you don't know what's going to show up in the space. So you just bring that humility, you bring that vulnerability, and you bring your courage. After you've had some sharing, you want to start to close the time together based on what we shared. So maybe you open with, based on what we shared and heard today, what do you feel like you need moving forward? And let people bring voice to that. And you name that you're just listening so that you can honor what they're sharing moving forward, and then anchor back to it even later as things progress for you all as a community. And then you want to end with some loving kindness, end with connection. And so maybe we end with 1 minute of just simply breathing together, being in some silence, and then offering that loving kindness. May we all be healthy. May we all be happy. May we all be at peace. How is it that you can bring the group to wholeness and a feeling of connection? Not full agreement, just simply connection. So this conversation that you might have to have today can be 20 minutes. It might be 30 minutes. If you're blessed with some time, it'll be 45 to 60. But somehow you must bring it into the space today. Somehow. What I just took you through can really be done in about 15 to 20 minutes. So I hope that this has been helpful for you today. It's definitely not perfect. It was just on my heart to share and offer some encouragement and some inspiration and just a few little tools and tips to get you through this difficult time as leaders and teachers today. There's always more than one way to do this. Feel free to put that in the chat. Share with people. Circle back to this. How did you do this today? So you need your courage today. And in courageous leadership, practice makes progress. It doesn't make perfect, because it just doesn't exist. In courageous leadership, practice makes progress. Our work is sacred, and so are we. I love you, and peace and blessings. Peace and blessings.